North Dakota, DQKOHTQ5 is a landlocked U.S. state in the upper Midwest, named after the indigenous Dakota and Sioux peoples. It is bordered by the Canadian provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba to the north and by the U.S. states of Minnesota to the east, South Dakota to the south, and Montana to the west. North Dakota is part of the Great Plains region, characterized by broad prairies, steppe, temperate savanna, badlands, and farmland. North Dakota is the 19th largest state by area, but with a population of just under 800,000, it is the fourth least populous and fourth least densely populated. The state capital is Bismarck, while the most populous city is Fargo, which accounts for nearly a fifth of the state's population. Both cities are among the fastest growing in the U.S., although half of all residents live in rural areas. What is now North Dakota was inhabited for thousands of years by various Native American tribes, including the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara along the Missouri River, the Ojibwe and Cree in the northeast, and several Sioux groups, the Dakota, and Lakota across the rest of the state. European explorers and traders first arrived in the early 18th century, mostly in pursuit of lucrative furs. The United States acquired the region in the early 19th century, gradually settling it amid growing resistance by increasingly displaced natives. The Dakota Territory, established in 1861, became central to American pioneers, with the Homestead Act of 1862 precipitating significant population growth and development. The traditional fur trade declined in favor of farming, particularly of wheat. The subsequent Dakota boom, from 1878 to 1886, saw giant farms stretched across the rolling prairies, with the territory becoming a regional economic power. The Northern Pacific and Great Northern Railway companies competed for access to lucrative grain centers. Farmers banded together in political and socio-economic alliances that were core to the broader populist movement of the Midwest. North and South Dakota were admitted to the Union on November 2, 1889, as the 39th and 40th states. President Benjamin Harrison shuffled the statehood papers before signing them so that no one could tell which became a state first. Consequently, the two states are officially numbered in alphabetical order. 6. Statehood marked the gradual winding down of the pioneer period, with the state fully settled by around 1927. Subsequent decades saw a rise in radical agrarian movements and economic cooperatives, of which one legacy is the Bank of North Dakota, the only state-run bank in the U.S. Beginning in the mid-20th century, North Dakota's rich natural resources became more critical to economic development. Into the 21st century, oil extraction from the Bakken Formation in the Northwest has played a major role in the state's prosperity. Such development has led to population growth along with high birth rates and reduced unemployment. It ranks relatively well in metrics such as infrastructure, quality of life, economic opportunity, and public safety. It is believed to host the geographic center of North America, Rugby, and is home to what was once the tallest artificial structure in the Western Hemisphere, the KVLY-TV mast. The known tribes included the Mandan people from around the 11th century, 8, while the first Hidatsa group arrived a few hundred years later. 9. They both assembled in villages on tributaries of the Missouri River in what would become west-central North Dakota. Crow Indians traveled the plains from the west to visit and trade with the related Hidatsas 8 after the split between them, probably in the 17th century. 10 later came divisions of the Sioux, the Lakota, the Santee, and the Yanktonai. The Assiniboine and the Plains Cree undertook southward journeys to the village Indians, either for trade or for War. 811. A group of Cheyennes lived in a village of earth lodges at the Lower Cheyenne River Biesterfeld site for decades in the 18th century. Due to attacks by Crees, Assiniboines, and Chippewas armed with firearms, clarification needed, they left the area around 1780 and crossed Missouri sometime after. 13. A band of the Fusotayo Indians lived east of Missouri River and met the uprooted Cheyennes. Before the end of the century, They soon followed the Cheyennes across Missouri and lived among them south of Cannonball River 14 eventually. The Cheyenne and the Sutayo became one tribe and turned into mounted buffalo hunters with ranges, mainly outside North Dakota. Before the middle of the 19th century, the Arikara entered the future state from the south and joined the Mandan and Hidatsa. 15. Many of the treaties define the territory of a specific tribe. European exploration and colonization. First European to reach the area was the French-Canadian trader Pierre Gaultier, Sieur de la Vérendrye, who led an exploration and trading party to the Mandan villages in 1738 guided by Assiniboine Indians. 16. From 1760 to 1800, the region formed part of Spanish Louisiana. 17. Fort Union Trading Post National Historic City. The 1st of October 1800, the Third Treaty of San Ildefonso was signed, and the territory of Spanish Louisiana was transferred to France as part of French Louisiana, which was later sold to the United States in the Louisiana Purchase. The northwestern portion of the state, corresponding to the Red River Valley and the drainage basin to the Hudson Bay, was, at the time, part of Rupert's Land, a British North American territory. It remained under control of the Hudson's Bay Company until the Anglo-American Convention of 1818, which set the border between it and the United States to the 49th parallel. Settlement and statehood. Main article. Dakota Territory. European Americans settled in Dakota Territory only sparsely until the late 19th century, when railroads opened up the region. With the advantage of grants of land, they vigorously marketed their properties, extolling the region as ideal for agriculture. The northern part was seen by the more populated southern part as somewhat disreputable, too much controlled by the wild folks, cattle ranchers, fur traders, and too frequently the site of conflict with the indigenous population. The northern part was generally content with remaining a territory. However, following the territorial capital being moved from Yankton in the southern part to Bismarck, the southern part began to call for division. Finally, at the 1887 territorial election, the voters approved splitting the territory into two. The division was done by the 7th Standard Parallel, 1819. Other accounts state that the real reason for the split was a political lure for Republican senators instead of two from the Republican-dominated Dakota Territory. And in their push to split the territory, Republican congressmen also ignored the uncomfortable fact that much of the land in the anticipated state of South Dakota belonged to the Sioux. 2021 Congress passed an omnibus bill for statehood for North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington, titled the Enabling Act of 1889, on February 22, 1889, during the administration of President Grover Cleveland. His successor, Benjamin Harrison, signed the proclamations formally admitting North Dakota and South Dakota to the Union on November 2, 1889. 22. There was a rivalry between the two new states that which one would be admitted first. So Harrison directed Secretary of State James G. Blaine to shuffle the papers and obscure from him which he was signing first to keep both the states happy and to avoid showing favor to either state. The actual order went unrecorded, thus no one knows which of the Dakotas was admitted first. 2320 for 21. However, since North Dakota alphabetically appears before South Dakota, its proclamation was published first in the statutes at large. 20th century unrest among wheat farmers, especially among Norwegian immigrants, led to a populist political movement centered in the nonpartisan League NPL around the time of World War I. The NPL ran candidates on the Republican ticket, but merged into the Democratic Party after World War II. It tried to insulate North Dakota from the power of out-of-state banks and corporations. In addition to founding the state-owned Bank of North Dakota and North Dakota Mill and Elevator, both still in existence, the NPL established a state-owned railroad line later sold to the Sioux Line Railroad. Anti-corporate laws virtually prohibited a corporation or bank from owning title to lands owned as farmland. These laws, still in force today, after having been upheld by state and federal courts, make it almost impossible to foreclose on farmland, as even after foreclosure, the property title cannot be held by a bank or mortgage company. 25. Furthermore, the Bank of North Dakota, having powers similar to a Federal Reserve branch bank, exercised its power to limit the issuance of subprime mortgages and their collateralization in the form of derivative instruments, and so prevented a collapse of housing prices within the state in the wake of 2008's financial crisis. 26. North Dakota State Capitol, featuring an Art Deco tower. The original North Dakota State Capitol in Bismarck burned to the ground on December 28, 1930. It was replaced by a limestone-faced Art Deco skyscraper that still stands today. 27. A round of federal investment and construction projects began in the 1950s, including the Garrison Dam and the Minot and Grand Forks Air Force bases. 28. Western North Dakota saw a boom in oil exploration in the late 1970s and early 1980s, as rising petroleum prices made development profitable. 29. This boom came to an end after petroleum prices declined. 29. 21st Century Maine article. North Dakota oil boom in 2010. The state had lower rates of unemployment than the national average. 30. And increased job and population growth. 31. Much of the growth has been based on development of the Bakken oil fields in the western part of the state. 30. To estimates as to the remaining amount of oil in the area vary, with some estimating over 100 years' worth. 33. For decades, North Dakota's annual murder and violent crime rates were regularly the lowest in the United States. In recent years, however, while still below the national average, crime has risen sharply. In 2016, the violent crime rate was 3 times higher than in 2004, with the rise occurring mostly in the late 2000s, coinciding with the oil boom era. This happened at a time when the national violent crime rate declined slightly. 30. For workers in the oil boom towns have been blamed for much of the increase. 35-36. Geography Maine article. Geography of North Dakota. North Dakota is located in the upper Midwest region of the United States. It lies at the center of the North American continent and borders Canada to the north. The geographic center of North America is near the town of Rugby. Bismarck is the capital of North Dakota, and Fargo is the most populous city. View of western North Dakota. North Dakota is in the U.S. region known as the Great Plains. The state shares the Red River of the north with Minnesota to the east. South Dakota is to the south, Montana is to the west, and the Canadian provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba are to the north. With an area of 70,760 square miles, 183,273 square kilometers, 3769,001 square miles, 178,712 square kilometers, of which is land. 38. North Dakota is the 19th largest state. 39. The western half of the state consists of the hilly Great Plains as well as the northern part of the Badlands, which are to the west of the Missouri River. The state's high point, White Butte at 3,506 feet, 1,069 meters, and Theodore Roosevelt National Park 40 are in the Badlands. The region is abundant in fossil fuels, including natural gas, crude oil, and lignite coal. The Missouri River forms Lake Sakakawea, the third largest artificial lake in the United States, behind the Garrison Dam. 41. The central region of the state is divided into the Drift Prairie and the Missouri Plateau. The eastern part of the state consists of the flat Red River Valley, the bottom of glacial Lake Agassiz. Its fertile soil and grassland crops cover most of eastern North Dakota, but become increasingly sparse in the center and farther west. Natural trees in North Dakota are found usually where there is good drainage, such as the ravines and valley near the Pembina Gorge and Killdeer Mountains, the Turtle Mountains, the hills around Devil's Lake, in the dunes area of McHenry County in central North Dakota, and along the Cheyenne Valley slopes and the Cheyenne Delta. This diverse terrain supports nearly 2,000 species of plants. 40 for 45 soil is North Dakota's most precious resource. It is the base of the state's great agricultural wealth. North Dakota also has enormous mineral resources. These mineral resources include billions of tons of lignite coal. In addition, North Dakota has large oil reserves. Petroleum was discovered in the state in 1951 and quickly became one of North Dakota's most valuable mineral resources. In the early 2000s, the emergence of hydraulic fracturing technologies enabled mining companies to extract huge amounts of oil from the Bakken Shale rock formation in the western part of the state. 46 North Dakota public lands, 5 national parks, 5 state forests, 63 national wildlife refuges, 3 national grassland, and 13 state parks, 47 plus there are state trust land, Bureau of Land Management, waterfowl production areas, Bureau of Reclamation, Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, State Wildlife Management Areas 48. Climate Maine article. Climate of North Dakota. Köppen climate types of North Dakota. North Dakota has a continental climate with warm summers and cold winters. The temperature differences are significant because of its far inland position and being roughly equal distance from the North Pole and the equator. On February 21, 1918, Granville, North Dakota experienced a record-breaking 83 F temperature increase over a 12-hour period from a low of minus 33 F to a high of 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 58. Another weather record set in Langdon in the winter of 1935-36, with the temperature staying below 0 F, 17.8 C, for 41 consecutive days. January 11th to February 20th. This is a record for any location in the contiguous U.S. 59. Demographics Papunton Dakota population density at the 2023 estimate. North Dakota's population was 783,926 on July 1, 2023, a 0.6% increase since the 2020 United States Census. 60. North Dakota is the 4th least populous state in the country. Only Alaska, Vermont, and Wyoming have fewer residents. 61. From fewer than 2,000 people in 1870, North Dakota's population grew to near 680,000 by 1930. Growth then slowed, and the population fluctuated slightly over the next 7 decades, hitting a low of 617,761 in the 1970 census, with 642,200 in the 2000 census. 62. In the 21st century, North Dakota has experienced significant growth, reaching a record population of 783,926 in 2023. 63. Except for Native Americans, the North Dakota population has a lesser percentage of minorities than in the nation as a whole. 64. As of 2011. 20.7% of North Dakota's population younger than age 1 were minorities. 65. The center of population of North Dakota is in Wells County, near Sikeston. 66. According to HUD's 2023 Annual Homeless Assessment Report, there were an estimated 780 for homeless people in North Dakota. 67. 68. Since 2016, data for births of white Hispanic origin are not collected, but included in one Hispanic group. Persons of Hispanic origin may be of any race. Throughout the mid-19th century, Dakota Territory was still dominated by Native Americans. Warfare and disease reduced their population at the same time Europeans and Americans were settling in the R.A. Throughout the latter half of the 19th century and into the early 20th century, North Dakota, along with most of the Midwest U.S., experienced a mass influx of newcomers from both the eastern United States and immigrants from Europe. North Dakota was a known popular destination for immigrant farmers and general laborers and their families, mostly from Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Much of this settlement gravitated throughout the western side of the Red River Valley, as was similarly seen in South Dakota and in a parallel manner in Minnesota. This area is well known for its fertile lands. By the outbreak of the First World War, this was among North America's richest farming regions. But a period of higher rainfall ended, and many migrants were not successful in the arid conditions. Many family plots were too small to farm successfully. Citation needed, from the 1930s until the end of the 20th century, North Dakota's population gradually declined, interrupted by a couple of brief increases. Young adults with university degrees were particularly likely to leave the state. With the advancing process of mechanization of agricultural practices and environmental conditions requiring larger landholdings for successful agriculture, subsistence farming proved to be too risky for families. Many people moved to urban areas for jobs. 85 since the late 20th century. One of the major causes of migration from North Dakota is the lack of skilled jobs for college graduates. Expansion of economic development programs has been urged to create skilled and high-tech jobs, but the effectiveness of such programs has been open to debate. 86. During the first decade of the 21st century, the population increased in large part because of jobs in the oil industry related to development of unconventional tight oil, shale oil fields. 87. Elsewhere, the Native American population has increased as some reservations have attracted people back from urban areas. According to the 2010 census, the racial and ethnic composition of North Dakota was 88.7% non-Hispanic white, 5.4% Native American, 1.2% Black or African American, 1.0% Asian, 0.1% Pacific Islander, 0.5% some other race, and 0.2% from two or more races. 88. At the 2019 American Community Survey, North Dakota's racial and ethnic makeup was 83.6% non-Hispanic white to 0.9% Black or African American, 5.0% Native American and Alaska Native, 1.4% Asian, 0.4% Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, 0.1% some other race, to 0.7% multiracial, and for 0.0% Hispanic or Latin American of any race. 89. North Dakota is one of the top, according to the U.S. Office of Refugee Resettlement. In 2013-2014, more than 68 refugees per 100,000 North Dakotans were settled in the state. 90 in fiscal year 2014. 582 refugees settled in the state. 91. Fargo Mayor Mahoney said North Dakota accepting the most refugees per capita should be celebrated given the benefits they bring to the state. 92. In 2015, Lutheran Social Services of North Dakota, the state's only resettlement agency, was awarded for $158,090 in federal funding to improve refugee services. 93. 29.8% of immigrants in North Dakota are from Africa, leading to a rapid increase in the Black proportion of the population in recent decades from 0.6% in 2000 to 3.9% in 2020. 94. Immigration from outside the United States resulted in a net increase of 3,323 people, and migration within the country produced a net loss of 21,110 people. 95. Of the residents of North Dakota in 2009, 69.8% were born in North Dakota, 27.2% were born in a different state, 0.6% were born in Puerto Rico, U.S., island areas, or born abroad to American parents, and 0.4% were. The age and gender distributions approximate the national average. In 2019, for 0.1% were foreign-born residents. 97. The Philippines, Bhutan, Nepal, Canada, and Liberia are the top countries of origin for North Dakota's immigrants. 98. Religion. See also, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in North Dakota alleges self-identification. Per Public Religion Research Institute's 2022 American Values Survey, 103 Christianity 80%. Unaffiliated 12%, other 8%. Vang Evangelical Lutheran Church in Manfred. Pew Research Center determined 77% of the adult population was Christian in 2014. 104. In contrast with many southern U.S. states, mainline Protestantism was the largest form of Protestantism, practiced 28%. The largest mainline Protestant denomination in North Dakota was the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and the United Methodist Church was the second largest. Evangelical Protestants, forming the second largest Protestant branch, 22%, were also dominated by Lutherans. The Lutheran Church Missouri Synod was the largest evangelical denomination. Among the Christian population of North Dakota, the Roman Catholic Church was the single largest Christian denomination. According to the Public Religion Research Institute in 2020, 75% of the adult population were Christian, with mainline Protestantism remaining the majority and evangelical Protestantism at 18% of the population. 105. In 2022, the Public Religion Research Institute determined 80% of the population were Christian. Per the Pew Research Center in 2014, non-Christian religions accounted for 3% of the adult population, with Islam being the largest non-Christian religion. Other faiths such as Unitarians and New Agers collectively made up 1% of the practicing population. At the 2014 survey, 20% were unaffiliated with any religion, and 2% of North Dakotans were atheist. 13% of the population practiced nothing in particular. 104. The 2020 Public Religion Research Institute's survey determined 22% were unaffiliated with any religion. 105 and 12% in 2022. The largest church bodies by number of adherents in 2010 were the Roman Catholic Church with 167,349, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America with 163,209, and the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod with 22,003. 106. In 2006, North Dakota had the most churches per capita of any state. 107. Additionally, North Dakota had the highest percentage of church-going population of any state in 2006. 107. By 2020, the Association of Religion Data Archives numbered 164,843, remaining the largest Christian body by attendance. It had an adherence rate of 211.58 per 1,000 people. 108. A 2001 survey indicated 35% of North Dakota's population was Lutheran, and 30% was Catholic. Other religious groups represented were Methodists, 7%, Baptists, 6%, the Assemblies of God, 3%, Presbyterians, 1.7%, 109, and Jehovah's Witnesses, 1%. Christians with unstated or other denominational affiliations, including other Protestants and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints LDS Church, totaled 3%, bringing the total Christian population to 86%. There were an estimated 920 Muslims and 730 Jews in the state in 2000. 110. 3% of respondents answered no religion on the survey, and 6% declined to answer. 107. Economy. See also, list of North Dakota companies and North Dakota locations by per capita incomes in Flores and Trail County. North Dakota agriculture is North Dakota's largest industry, although petroleum, food processing, and technology are also major industries. 111. Its growth rate is about 4.1%. 112. According to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, the economy of North Dakota had a gross domestic product of $55.180 billion in the second quarter of 2018. 113. The per capita income for the state was $34,256 when measured from 2013 to 2017 by the United States Department of Commerce. 114. The three-year median household income from 2013 to 2017 was $61,285. 114. According to Gallup data, North Dakota led the U.S. in job creation in 2013 and has done so since 2009. The state has a job creation index score of 40, nearly 10 points ahead of its nearest competitors. 115. North Dakota has added 56,600 private sector jobs since 2011, creating an annual growth rate of 7.32%. 116, according to statistics released in December 2020 by the Bureau of Economic Analysis. North Dakota had the highest rate of annual growth in personal consumption expenditures of all 50 states from 2009 to 2018. 118. During this time period, annual nominal personal income growth averaged 6% per year, compared to the U.S. average of 4.4%. North Dakota's personal income growth is tied to various private business sectors, such as agriculture, energy development, and construction. 119. 120. North Dakota also had the highest growth in personal expenditures on housing and utilities of all states, reflecting the sharply increased demand for housing in the 2010s. Just over 21% of North Dakota's total 2013 gross domestic product GDP of $49.77 billion comes from natural resources and mining. 121. North Dakota is the only state with a state-owned bank, the Bank of North Dakota in Bismarck, and a state-owned flour mill, the North Dakota Mill and Elevator in Grand Forks. These were established by the NPL before World War II. As of 2012, Fargo is home to the second-largest campus of Microsoft with 1,700 employees, and Amazon.com employs several hundred in Grand Forks. 122. 123. As of December 2019, the state's unemployment rate is among the lowest in the nation at 2.4%. 124. With the exception of a 5-month period in 2020, the unemployment rate remained below 5% each month since 1987. 125. At end of 2010, the state per capita income was ranked 17th in the nation, the biggest increase of any state in a decade from rank 38th. The reduction in the unemployment rate and growth in per capita income is attributable to the oil boom in the state. 118. Due to a combination of oil-related development and investing in technology and service industries, North Dakota has had a budget surplus every year since the 2008 market crash. 127 since 1976. The highest that North Dakota's unemployment rate has reached is just 6.2%, recorded in 1983. Every U.S. state except neighboring South Dakota has had a higher unemployment rate during that period. 128. Agriculture. North Dakota's earliest industries were fur trading and agriculture. Although less than 10% of the population is employed in the agricultural sector, 129, it remains a major part of the state's economy. With industrial-scale farming, it ranks 9th in the nation in the value of crops and 18th in total value of agricultural products sold. Large farms generate the most crops. The share of people in the state employed in agriculture is comparatively high. As of 2008, only 2 to 3% of the population of the United States is directly employed in agriculture. 130. North Dakota has about 90% of its land area in farms, with 27,500,000 acres, 111,000 square kilometers, of cropland, the third largest amount in the nation. Between 2002 and 2007, total cropland increased by about 1 million acres per 1,000 square kilometers. North Dakota was the only state showing an increase. Over the same period, 1,800,000 acres, 7,300 square kilometers, were shifted into soybean and corn monoculture production, the largest such shift in the United States. 131. Agriculturalists are concerned about too much monoculture, as it makes the economy at risk from insect or crop diseases affecting a major crop. In addition, this development has adversely affected habitats of wildlife and birds, and the balance of the ecosystem. North Dakota Mill and Elevator Postcard, Call 1920 to North Dakota State Seed Department on North Dakota State University campus. The state is the largest producer in the U.S. of many cereal grains, including barley 36% of U.S. crop, durum wheat 58%, hard red spring wheat 48%, oats 17%, and combined wheat of all types 15%. It is the second leading producer of buckwheat 20%. As of 2007, corn became the state's largest crop produced, although it is only 2% of total U.S. production. 131. The Corn Belt extends to North Dakota, but is more on the edge of the region instead of in its center. Corn yields are high in the southeast part of the state and smaller in other parts of the state. Most of the cereal grains are grown for livestock feed. The state is the leading producer of many oilseeds, including 92% of the U.S. canola crop, 94% of flaxseed, 53% of sunflower seeds, 18% of safflower seeds, and 62% of mustard seed. Canola is suited to the cold winters, and it matures fast. Processing of canola for oil production produces canola meal as a byproduct. The byproduct is a high-protein animal feed. Soybeans are also an increasingly important crop, with 400,000 acres, 1,600 square kilometers additional planted between 2002 and 2007. 131. Soybeans are a major crop in the eastern part of the state, and cultivation is common in the southeast part of the state. Soybeans were not grown at all in North Dakota in the 1940s, but the crop has become especially common since 1998. 132. In North Dakota, soybeans have to mature fast because of the comparatively short growing season. Soybeans are grown for livestock feed. North Dakota is the second leading producer of sugar beets, which are grown mostly in the Red River Valley. The state is also the largest producer of honey, dry edible peas and beans, lentils, and the third largest producer of potatoes. 131. Energy also. List of power stations in North Dakota while in western North Dakota. The energy industry is a major contributor to the economy. North Dakota has both coal and oil reserves. On average, the state's production of oil production grew at average annual rate of 48.4% from 2009 to 2018. During these years, oil production increased each year from 2009 to 2015, with 2016 marked by a slight decline and a return to growth since. 118. Shale gas is also produced. Lignite coal reserves in western North Dakota are used to generate about 90% of the electricity consumed, and electricity is also exported to nearby states. 130. For North Dakota has the second largest lignite coal production in the U.S. 135. However, lignite coal is the lowest grade coal. There are larger and higher grade coal reserves anthracite, bituminous coal, and subbituminous coal in other U.S. states. The northwestern part of the state is the center of the North Dakota oil boom. The Williston, Tioga, Stanley, and Minot Burlington communities are having rapid growth that strains housing and local services. As of the 30th of November 2022, the state is the second largest oil producer in the U.S., with an average of 1,097,716 barrels, 174,522.9 cubic meters per day, while producing 3,029,032 cubic feet, 85,772.600 cubic meters per day of natural gas, for a total of 1,619,963 barrels, 257,553.5 cubic meters of oil equivalent. BO. 141. 142. The Great Plains region, which includes the state of North Dakota, has been referred to as the Saudi Arabia of wind energy. 143. Development of wind energy in North Dakota has been cost-effective because the state has large rural expanses and wind speeds seldom go below 10 miles per hour. 16. Tourism. North Dakota is considered the least visited state, owing, in part, to its not having a major tourist attraction. 144. Nonetheless, tourism is North Dakota's third largest industry, contributing more than $3 billion into the state's economy annually. Outdoor attractions like the 144-mile, 230 kilometers Ma-Dahe Trail, and activities like fishing and hunting attract visitors. The state is known for the Lewis and Clark Trail and being the winter camp of the Corps of Discovery. 145 areas popular with visitors include Theodore Roosevelt National Park in the western part of the state. The park often exceeds 475,000 visitors each year. 146 regular events in the state that attract tourists include Norskegstfest in Minot, billed as North America's largest Scandinavian festival. 147 the Medora Musical, and the North Dakota State Fair. The state also receives a significant number of visitors from the neighboring Canadian provinces of Manitoba and Saskatchewan, particularly when the exchange rate is favorable. 148 international tourists now also come to visit the Oscar Zero Missile Alert Facility. 149 the Ma-Dahe Trail is a 144-mile, 230 kilometers non-motorized single-track trail in North Dakota, United States, that reaches from USFS Burning Coal Vein Campground 30 miles south of Medora to the USFS CCC Campground 16 miles south of Watford City. The trail winds through the Little Missouri National Grasslands in North Dakota's Badlands to form the longest continuous single-track mountain biking trail in America. The campgrounds include camping spurs, potable water, hitching rails, picnic tables, fire rings, and accessible toilets. Ma-Dahe is a phrase from the Mandan Indians meaning an area that has been or will be around for a long time. The trail connects both the North Unit and South Unit of Theodore Roosevelt National Park, although biking is not allowed in the parks themselves. Alternate bike trails have been constructed to bypass the parks. The entire trail is open, however, to hikers and horseback riders. There are multiple trailhead entry points which can be accessed from US 85 and country roads on the west side of the Little Missouri River. Theodore Roosevelt National Park is a national park of the United States in the Badlands of western North Dakota, comprising 3 geographically separated areas. This park pays homage to the time that Theodore Roosevelt spent in the surrounding area and in the Dakota Territories before they were states. Roosevelt lived in the area after his mother and wife died hours apart on February 14, 1884. Theodore Roosevelt National Park is the only American national park named directly after a single person. The park covers 70,446 acres, 110.07 square miles, 28,508 hectares, 285.08 square kilometers of land in 3 sections: the North Unit, the South Unit, and the Elkhorn Ranch Unit. The Little Missouri River flows through all 3 units of the park. The Ma-Dahe Trail connects all 3 units. The park's larger South Unit lies alongside Interstate 90 near Medora, North Dakota. The smaller North Unit is situated about 80 miles 130 kilometers north of the South Unit, and Roosevelt's Elkhorn Ranch is located between the North and South Units. Both main units of the park have scenic drives, approximately 100 miles 160 kilometers of foot and horse trails, wildlife viewing, and backcountry hiking and camping. The park received 850,000 recreational visitors in 2021. To the North Dakota State Fair is an annual state fair held each July in Minot, North Dakota, USA. The fair has carnival rides, agricultural expositions, government and commercial exhibitions, and a variety of musical and performance entertainment. The fairgrounds are located along Burdick Expressway in East Minot. 2. The facilities on the site are used for a variety of other events. The grandstand is regularly used for Nodak Speedway stock car races, and the All Seasons Arena is frequently used for conventions, sporting events, and festivals, including Norskegstfest. 3. The fair was first held in Minot in 1922, but was not officially sanctioned by the state government until 1966. The North Dakota State Fair is the largest event in the state, drawing over 300,000 people each year, up from around 250,000 in 2006. 5. Fair attendance tends to increase year by year, with two noted exceptions in 2011 and 2020. The 2011 fair was canceled because of the 2011 Souris River flood a month prior, which left much of the grounds underwater. 6. This announcement came after originally planning to hold the fair without competitive events. The 2020 fair was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, although attendance returned to over normal levels by the following year. For 7-8, Native American First Nation Spokane witnessed and participated in the annual bison hunt of the Metis in June 1846 on the prairies in Dakota. In the 21st century, North Dakota has an increasing population of Native Americans who in 2010 made up 5.44% of the population. By the early 19th century, the territory was dominated by Siouan-speaking peoples, whose territory stretched west from the Great Lakes area. The word Dakota is a Sioux Lakota, Dakota word meaning allies or friends. The primary historic tribal nations in or around North Dakota are the Lakota and the Dakota, the Great Sioux Nation, or Oceti-Sakowin, meaning the Seven Council Fires, the Blackfoot, the Cheyenne, the Chippewa known as Ojibwe in Canada, and the Mandan. There are 6 Indian reservations in North Dakota: Spirit Lake Tribe, Standing Rock Indian Reservation, Sisseton-Wapton-Oyet, Fort Berthold Indian Reservation, Turtle Mountain Indian Reservation, and the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. Powwow social gatherings, known as powwows or wasipis in Lakota, Dakota, continue to be an important part of Native American culture and are held regularly throughout the state. Throughout Native American history, powwows were held, usually in the spring, to rejoice at the beginning of new life and the end of the winter cold. These events brought Native American tribes together for singing and dancing and allowed them to meet with old friends and acquaintances, as well as to make new ones. Many powwows also held religious significance for some tribes. Today, powwows are still a part of the Native American culture and are attended by natives and non-natives alike. In North Dakota, the United Tribes International Powwow, held each September in the capital of Bismarck, is one of the largest powwows in the United States. A powwow is an occasion for parades and Native American dancers in regalia, with many dancing styles presented. It is traditional for male dancers to wear regalia decorated with beads, quills, and eagle feathers. Male grass dancers wear colorful fringe regalia, and male fancy dancers wear brightly colored feathers. Female dancers dance much more subtly than male dancers. Fancy female dancers wear cloth, beaded moccasins, and jewelry, while the jingle dress dancer wears a dress made of metal cones. Intertribal dances during the powwow allow everyone, even spectators, to take part in the dancing. Norwegian and Icelandic influenced Norwegian settlers in front of their sod house in North Dakota in 1898. Around 1870, many European immigrants from Norway settled in North Dakota's northeastern corner, especially near the Red River. Icelanders also arrived from Canada. 160 Pembina was a town of many Norwegians when it was founded. They worked on family farms. They started Lutheran churches and schools, greatly outnumbering other denominations in the area. This group has unique foods such as lefse and lutefisk. The continent's largest Scandinavian event, Norskegstfest, is celebrated each September in Minnett's North Dakota State Fair Center, a local attraction featuring art, architecture, and cultural artifacts from all 5 Nordic countries. The Icelandic State Park in Pembina County and an annual Icelandic festival reflect immigrants from that country, who are also descended from Scandinavians. Old world folk customs have persisted for decades in North Dakota, with the revival of techniques in weaving, silver crafting, and wood carving. Traditional turf roof houses are displayed in parks. This style originated in Iceland. A stave church is a landmark in Minot. Norwegian Americans constitute nearly 1/3, or 30.3% of Minnett's total population and 30.8% of North Dakota's total population. Germans from Russia also. Germans from Russia. ethnic Germans who had settled in Russia for several generations since the reign of Catherine the Great grew dissatisfied in the 19th century because of economic problems and because of the revocation of religious freedoms for Mennonites and Hutterites, in particular the revocation of exemption from military service in 1871. Most Mennonites and Hutterites migrated to America in the late 1870s. By 1900, about 100,000 had immigrated to the U.S., settling primarily in North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, and Nebraska. The south-central part of North Dakota became known as the German-Russian Triangle. By 1910, about 60,000 ethnic Germans from Russia lived in central North Dakota. These individuals were Lutherans, Mennonites, Hutterites, and Roman Catholics who had kept most of their German customs of the time when their ancestors immigrated to Russia. They were committed to agriculture. Traditional iron cemetery grave markers are a famous art form practiced by ethnic Germans. 162 fine and performing arts. North Dakota's major fine art museums and venues include the Chester Fritz Auditorium, Empire Arts Center, the Fargo Theater, North Dakota Museum of Art, and the Plains Art Museum. The Bismarck-Mandan Symphony Orchestra, Fargo-Moorhead Symphony Orchestra, Greater Grand Forks Symphony Orchestra, Minot Symphony Orchestra, and Great Plains Harmony Chorus are full-time professional and semi-professional musical ensembles who perform concerts and offer educational programs to their communities. Entertainments also. Music of North Dakotan musicians of many genres include blues guitarist Johnny Lang, country music singer Lynn Anderson, jazz and traditional pop singer and songwriter Peggy Lee, big band leader Lawrence Welk, and pop singer Bobby V. Hollywood and TV star Angie Dickinson was born in Culm and moved to Burbank, California as a 10-year-old. Ed Schultz was known around the country as the host of progressive talk radio show, The Ed Schultz Show, and The Ed Show on MSNBC. Shadoe Stevens hosted American Top 40 from 1988 to 1995. Josh Duhamel is an Emmy Award-winning actor known for his roles in All My Children and Las Vegas. 163 Nicole Linkletter and Carity English were winning contestants of Cycles 5 and 7, respectively, of America's Next Top Model. Kellen Lutz has appeared in movies such as Stick It, Accepted, Prom Night, and Twilight. North Dakota has the largest population of clowns in the United States. 160 for the music of North Dakota has followed general American trends over much of its history, beginning with ragtime and folk music, moving into big band and jazz. With the development of mass media, local artists in North Dakota, as in the rest of the country, saw a rapid loss of opportunity to create, perform, and sell popular music to the regional audience that had previously provided a market. Punk music is a major genre in the modern youth scene of North Dakota. Twilight is a 2008 American romantic fantasy film directed by Catherine Hardwicke from a screenplay by Melissa Rosenberg, based on the 2005 novel of the same name by Stephen E. Meyer. It is the first installment in the Twilight Saga film series. The film stars Kristen Stewart as Bella Swan, a teenage girl, and Robert Pattinson as Edward Cullen, a vampire. It focuses on the development of Bella and Edward's relationship and the subsequent efforts of Edward and his family to keep Bella safe from another coven of vampires. The project was in development for approximately 3 years at Paramount Pictures MTV Films, during which time a film adaptation that differed significantly from the novel was written. Summit Entertainment acquired the rights to the novel after the project's stagnant development. Rosenberg wrote a new adaptation of the novel shortly before the 2007-2008 Writers Guild of America strike and sought to be faithful to the novel's storyline. Principal photography began in March 2008 and took 44 days, 6 being completed on May 2nd. 7. The film was shot in the states of Oregon 8 and Washington. 9. Twilight premiered in Los Angeles on November 17, 2008. 10 and was theatrically released in the United States on November 21st by Summit Entertainment. Despite receiving mixed reviews from critics, the film grossed over $407 million worldwide. 5. It was released on DVD and Blu-ray disc on March 21, 2009, and became the most purchased DVD of the year. 11. The soundtrack was released on November 4, 2008. 12. The Twilight Director's Notebook was released on March 17, 2009, and was a #1 New York Times bestseller. 13. The film was followed by 4 sequels: New Moon 2009, Eclipse 2010, Breaking Dawn, Part 1 2011, and Breaking Dawn, Part 2 2012. Cuisine Maine article. Cuisine of North Dakota. The cuisine of North Dakota differs from average Midwestern cuisine in a number of ways. Though much of the Midwest has strong German influences, North Dakota also has a strong influence from Norway as well as the many ethnic Germans from Russia who settled there. There is also a strong Native American influence on the cuisine of North Dakota. 3 plants used as food by Native Americans are described in the North Dakota Ethnobotany database. 4. As in the Midwest as a whole, meals are typically served in a smorgasbord format rather than as courses. 5. Churches throughout the state commonly host annual fellowship dinners open to the community. This 5-day cultural event features Scandinavian dishes Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland, but does accommodate those who are not fond of lutefisk by providing many other choices of ethnic foods. 6. Sports. Bismarck was home of the Dakota Wizards of the NBA Development League and currently hosts the Bismarck Bucks of the Indoor Football League. The Dakota Wizards were an American professional basketball team based in Bismarck, North Dakota. They played in the NBA Development League from 2006 until 2012. After the 2011-12 season, the team relocated to Santa Cruz, California, and now plays as the Santa Cruz Warriors. Prior to entering the D-League in 2006, the Wizards spent 11 years playing in minor American leagues such as the International Basketball Association (IBA) and the Continental Basketball Association (CBA). The NBA G League, or simply the G League, is a professional basketball league in North America that serves as the developmental league of the National Basketball Association (NBA). The league comprises 31 teams as of the 2020-25 season. All are single-affiliated or owned by an NBA team, except for the independent Mexico City Capitans. The league was founded in 2001 as the National Basketball Development League (NBDL), renamed the NBA Development League (NBA D-League) in 2005. It received its present name in 2017 under a deal with Gatorade, becoming the first U.S. professional sports league named for an advertiser. 1 to initially 8 teams. The league expanded after 2005 under a plan by NBA Commissioner David Stern to develop it into a true minor league farm system, with each team affiliated with one or more NBA teams. By mid-2014, 1/3 of NBA players had spent time in the league, up from 23% in 2011. The Bismarck Bucks were an indoor American football team based in Bismarck, North Dakota. The Bucks joined Champions Indoor Football (CIF) as an expansion team in 2016 and began play for the 2017 season. 2. The team moved to the Indoor Football League (IFL) beginning with the 2019 season. 3. The team played its home games at the Bismarck Event Center in Bismarck. The team suspended operations in 2022. The team's owners indicated it would attempt to return in 2025 under a new brand, the Dakota Bucks, once the regulatory issues that prevented the team from playing in 2023 were resolved. The issues, as of November 2024, remain unresolved, and the IFL left the team off its 2025 schedule. The Bucks were the 3rd indoor football team to play in Bismarck, following the Bismarck Blaze, who played in the original Indoor Football League for its 2nd and final season of 2000, as well as the Bismarck Rough Riders, who played in the National Indoor Football League from 2002. Until 2003. The Indoor Football League (IFL) is a professional indoor American football league in the United States. The league comprises 14 teams, divided equally between the Eastern Conference (EC) and Western Conference (WC). The IFL is the highest professional level of indoor football and the longest continuously running indoor football league in the United States. Each IFL season has a 19-week regular season, which runs from the middle of March to the end of July, with each team playing 16 games and having 3 bye weeks. Following the conclusion of the regular season, for teams from each conference advance to the playoffs, a single elimination tournament, which culminates in the IFL National Championship, played in late August between the winners of the EC and WC championship games. The IFL was formed in 2008 when the Intense Football League and United Indoor Football agreed to merge following the conclusion of the 2008 National Indoor Bowl, which pinned the two leagues' champions against each other. The league has operated continuously under the same name and corporate structure longer than any other current indoor football league. Following the closure of the original Arena Football League in 2019, the IFL became the oldest active professional indoor football league in North America and can trace its history to 2003. The Sioux Falls Storm hold the most IFL championships with 7. The reigning league champions are the Arizona Rattlers. IFL players earn $250 United States dollars to $500 before taxes per game played, 1-2, with a $25 bonus given to players on the winning team each week. 3. Additionally, some teams provide housing for their players during the season. For the IFL has a player personnel partnership with the UFL to function as their de facto minor league. 5. And Jamestown. Education Higher Education Mine article. List of colleges and universities in North Dakota. The state has 11 public colleges and universities, 5 tribal community colleges, and for private schools. The largest institutions are North Dakota State University and the University of North Dakota. Tribal colleges and universities (TCS) are a category of higher education, minority-serving institutions in the United States defined in the Higher Education Act of 1965. Each qualifies for funding under the Tribally Controlled Colleges and Universities Assistance Act of 1978, 25 U.S.C. 1801 et seq., or the Navajo Community College Act, 25 U.S.C. 640 note, or is cited in Section 532 of the Equity in Educational Land Grant Status Act of 1994, 7 U.S.C. 301 note. These educational institutions are distinguished by being controlled and operated by federally recognized American Indian tribes. They have become part of Native Americans' institution building in order to pass on their own cultures. The first was founded by the Navajo Nation in 1968 in Arizona, and several others were established in the 1970s. As of 1994, they have been authorized by Congress as land-grant colleges. 1. 2. As of 2018, there are 30 to fully accredited tribal colleges and universities (TCS) in the United States, with 1 formal candidate for accreditation. 3. For Native American serving non-tribal institutions, NASNTS, are institutions other than TCS that serve an undergraduate population that is both low-income, at least 50% receiving title for needs-based assistance, and in which Native American students constitute at least 10%. 5. E.g., Southeastern Oklahoma State University. 6. North Dakota State University (NDSU), formerly North Dakota State University of Agriculture and Applied Sciences, is a public land-grant research university in Fargo, North Dakota, United States. It was founded as North Dakota Agricultural College in 1890 as the state's land-grant university. As of 2021, NDSU offers 90 for undergraduate majors, 146 undergraduate degree programs, 5 undergraduate certificate programs, 80 for undergraduate minors, 87 master's degree programs, 51 doctoral degree programs of study, and 210 graduate certificate programs. 5. It is classified among our 1 doctoral universities. Very high research activity. 6. NDSU is part of the North Dakota University System. The university also operates North Dakota's agricultural research extension centers distributed across the state on 18,488 acres, 70.8 square kilometers. In 2015, NDSU's economic impact on the state and region was estimated to be $1.3 billion a year, according to the NDUS System-Wide Economic Study by the School of Economics at North Dakota State University. TI. 7.8 as of 2022. It was also the 7th largest employer in the state of North Dakota. 9. The University of North Dakota and is a public research university in Grand Forks, North Dakota. It was established by the Dakota Territorial Assembly in 1883, 6 years before the establishment of the state of North Dakota. The university has the only schools of law and medicine in the state of North Dakota. The John D. Odegaard School of Aerospace Sciences was the first in the country to offer a degree in unmanned aircraft systems operation. 8. Several national research institutions are on the university's campus, including the Energy and Environmental Research Center, the School of Medicine and Health Sciences, and the USDA Human Nutrition Research Center. 9. It is classified among our 1 doctoral universities' very high research activity. 10. Transportations also, list of North Dakota numbered highways, list of North Dakota railroads, and aviation in North Dakota State 94 in North Dakota, near Gladstone. Transportation in North Dakota is overseen by the North Dakota Department of Transportation. The major interstate highways are Interstate 29 and Interstate 94, with I-29 and I-90 for meeting at Fargo, with I-29 oriented north to south along the eastern edge of the state, and I-90 for bisecting the state from east to west between Minnesota and Montana. A unique feature of the North Dakota interstate highway system is virtually all of it is paved in concrete, not blacktop, because of the extreme weather conditions it must endure. BNSF and the Canadian Pacific Railway operate the state's largest rail systems. Many branch lines formerly used by BNSF and Canadian Pacific Railway are now operated by the Dakota, Missouri Valley and Western Railroad and the Red River Valley and Western Railroad. 181. North Dakota's principal airports are the Hector International Airport, in Fargo, Grand Forks International Airport, GFK, Bismarck Municipal Airport, BIS, Minot International Airport, Mott, and Williston Basin International Airport, XWA in Williston. Amtrak's Empire Builder runs through North Dakota, making stops at Fargo to 13 a.m. westbound, 3:35 a.m. eastbound, Grand Forks for 52 a.m. westbound, 12:57 a.m. eastbound. Minot around 9 a.m. westbound and around 9:30 p.m. eastbound, and for other stations. 182. It is the descendant of the famous line of the same name run by the Great Northern Railway, which was built by the tycoon James J. Hill and ran from St. Paul to Seattle. Intercity bus service is provided by Greyhound and Jefferson lines. Public transit in North Dakota includes daily fixed route bus systems in Fargo, Bismarck-Mandan, Grand Forks, and Minot. Paratransit service in 57 communities, along with multi-county rural transit systems. 183. The North Dakota Department of Transportation. NDDOT is a part of the government of the U.S. state of North Dakota. NDDOT oversees the state's transportation system. This includes planning both new construction and reconstruction projects on roads and highways throughout the state. NDDOT is also responsible for the issuance of state driver's licenses. North Dakota, despite its small population, has the distinction of having a transportation system that has more miles of road per capita than any other state in the United States. North Dakota has the second smallest Department of Transportation within the country, second only to Hawaii. Despite the small size of the department, North Dakota has more registered vehicles than there are residents of the state. The director is Ronald J. Hank. 3 and the central office is located on the North Dakota State Capitol grounds in Bismarck, North Dakota. The Canadian Pacific Railway French. Chemin de fer Canadian Pacific, reporting mark CP, CPAA, MIL, SOO, also known simply as CPR or Canadian Pacific and formerly as CP Rail 1968 to 1996, is a Canadian Class 1 railway incorporated in 1881. The railway is owned by Canadian Pacific Kansas City Limited, known until 2023 as Canadian Pacific Railway Limited, which began operations as legal owner in a corporate restructuring in 2001-2. The railway is headquartered in Calgary, Alberta. In 2023, the railway owned approximately 20,100 kilometers, 12,500 miles of track in 7 provinces of Canada and into the United States, to stretching from Montreal to Vancouver, and as far north as Edmonton. Its rail network 3 also served Minneapolis, St. Paul, Milwaukee, Detroit, Chicago, and Albany, New York, in the United States. The railway was first built between Eastern Canada and British Columbia between 1875 and 1885, connecting with Ottawa Valley and Georgian Bay Area lines built earlier, fulfilling a commitment extended to British Columbia for when it entered Confederation in 1871. The CPR was Canada's first transcontinental railway, primarily a freight railway. The CPR was for decades the only practical means of long-distance passenger transport in most regions of Canada and was instrumental in the colonization and development of Western Canada. The CPR became one of the largest and most powerful companies in Canada, a position it held as late as 1975. 5. The company acquired to American Lines in 2009 the Dakota, Minnesota and Eastern Railroad DM&E and the Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern Railroad IC&E. Also, the company owns the Indiana Harbor Belt Railroad, a Hammond, Indiana-based terminal railroad along with Conrail shared assets operations. CPR purchased the Kansas City Southern Railway in December 2021 for $31 billion United States dollars. On April 14, 2023, KCS became a wholly owned subsidiary of CPR, and both CPR and its subsidiaries began doing business under the name of its parent company. The CPR is publicly traded on both the Toronto Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker CP. As of March 30, 2023, the largest shareholder of Canadian Pacific Stock Exchange is TCI Fund Management Limited, a London-based hedge fund that owns 6% of the company. 7. The Dakota, Missouri Valley and Western Railroad reporting mark DMVW started operations in September 1990, operating over 360 miles, 580 kilometers of former Sioux Line Railroad track in Montana and North Dakota. The railroad operates approximately 523 miles, 893 kilometers of track. DMVW's network includes 435 miles, 700 kilometers of track leased from Canadian Pacific Railway, 13 miles, 21 kilometers of track from Mackenzie, North Dakota, to Moffat, North Dakota, and 75 miles, 121 kilometers of track from Geneseo, North Dakota, to Aberdeen, South Dakota. DMVW maintains its headquarters in Bismarck, North Dakota, and has field offices in Crosby, North Dakota, Wishick, North Dakota, and Oaks, North Dakota, as well as Britain, South Dakota. Hector International Airport IATA, FAR, ICAO, KFAR, FAA LID. FAR is a civil military public airport 3 miles 5 kilometers northwest of Fargo, in Cass County, North Dakota, United States. The busiest airport in North Dakota, it is owned by the City of Fargo Municipal Airport Authority. 2 Fargo Air National Guard Base is located adjacent to the airport. The airport was named after Martin Hector, who first leased and then donated the original 50 acres of land to the city. For customs service is available for arrivals from Canada and other countries. Hector International has no scheduled passenger airline flights out of the country but has its international title, like many other airports, because of this customs service. The airport is home to Fargo Air National Guard Base and the Happy Hooligans of the 119th Wing, 119 WG, a unit of the North Dakota Air National Guard that operates the MQ-9 Reaper. The airport was the intended destination for the airplane carrying Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. Richardson on February 3, 1959. The airplane crashed shortly after takeoff from Mason City, Iowa, killing the 3 musicians and the pilot. Grand Forks International Airport IATA, GFK, ICAO, KGFK, FAA LID, GFK is a public airport 5 miles 8 kilometers northwest of Grand Forks, in Grand Forks County, North Dakota, United States. GFK has no scheduled passenger flights out of the country, but has an international title, like many other airports, because it is customs service for arrivals from Canada and other countries. The airport, sometimes called Mark Andrews International Airport after Mark Andrews, a former U.S. House Representative and U.S. Senator from North Dakota, is owned by the Grand Forks Regional Airport Authority 3 and located on U.S. Highway 2, around for miles 6 kilometers west of Interstate 29, within city limits in a detached section of the city that is surrounded by Wright Township. In 2009, the airport's FAA control tower was the 23rd busiest in the nation, with 346,165 tower operations. About 90% of all operations at GFK are flights operated by the University of North Dakota's John D. Odegaard School of Aerospace Sciences, which is based on the field. It is included in the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems for 2017 to 2021, in which it is categorized as a non-hub primary commercial service facility. 5 Minot International Airport IATA, MOT3, ICAO, KMOT, FAA LID, Mott is in Ward County, North Dakota, United States, 2 miles north of the city of Minot, to which owns it. 2. The National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems for 2011 to 2015 categorized it as a primary commercial service airport. Vermont currently handles between 10 and 15 commercial flights a day from 3 airlines, as well as various charters and general aviation traffic. For many years, Northwest Airlines, followed by successor Delta Airlines, was the airport's sole commercial carrier, but an economic and population boom have resulted in other carriers adding flights as well. Delta Connection, United Express, and Allegiant Air currently offer flights to Minneapolis, Denver, Phoenix, Mesa, and Las Vegas, respectively. Minot International has no scheduled passenger airline service out of the country, but receives its international title, like many other airports, because of its customs service. Customs service is available for aircraft arriving from Canada and other countries. The Transportation Security Administration fully searches all passengers and carry-on luggage prior to boarding, rather than using a selective process, as is the case at major airports. Delta Airlines commands the largest percentage of Mott travelers and operates up to 6 daily flights to Minneapolis, all on Delta Connection. United Airlines became Minot's second-largest airline in 2010 and currently operates for daily flights to Denver. Allegiant Air became the airport's 3rd airline in 2010, with flights to Las Vegas, then added service to Phoenix Mesa. The number of flights to each destination fluctuates. Frontier Airlines became the airport's 4th airline in 2012, with 4 flights per week to Denver. Though passenger loads were high, Frontier discontinued service from Minot in 2015 due to restructuring of the airline. 5. The original Frontier Airlines served Minot on a route that connected it with Saskatoon, Regina, and Denver-Stapleton. Bankruptcy halted that airline's operations in 1986. Politics Mind article, Politics of North Dakota. See also, Political Party Strength in North Dakota, and List of political parties in North Dakota. MIT's Election Performance Index ranked North Dakota number 1 in overall election administration policy, and performance in the 2018, 2014, 2012, 2010, and 2008 elections. 193 tree map of the popular vote by county, 2016 presidential election. Major political parties in North Dakota are the Democratic NPL and the Republican Party. As of 2007, the Constitution Party and the Libertarian Party are also organized parties in the state. At the state level, the governorship has been held by the Republican Party since 1992, along with a majority of the state legislature and statewide officers. The NPL showings were strong in the 2000 governor's race and in the 2006 legislative elections. But the League has not had a major breakthrough since the administration of former state Governor George Sinner. The Republican Party presidential candidate usually carries the state by a considerable margin. In 2020, Donald Trump won over 65% of the vote. Of all the Democratic presidential candidates since 1892, only Grover Cleveland 1892, one of 3 votes, Woodrow Wilson 1912 and 1916, Franklin D. Roosevelt 1932 and 1936, and Lyndon B. Johnson 1964 received electoral college votes from North Dakota. On the other hand, the NPL candidates for North Dakota's federal Senate and House seats won every election between 1982 and 2008, and the state's federal delegation was entirely Democratic from 1987 to 2011. A 6-week abortion ban is active in North Dakota. Despite this, a simple majority of the state's citizens opposed the legislation. 194. State taxes. North Dakota has a slightly progressive income tax structure. The 5 brackets of state income tax rates are 1.1% to 0.0% to 0.27% to 0.64% and to 0.90% as of 2017. 195. In 2005, North Dakota ranked 22nd highest by per capita state taxes. 1. The sales tax in North Dakota is 6% for most items. 197. The state allows municipalities to institute local sales taxes and special local taxes, such as the 1.75% supplemental sales tax in Grand Forks. 198. Excise taxes are levied on the purchase price or market value of aircraft registered in North Dakota. The state imposes a use tax on items purchased elsewhere but used within North Dakota. Owners of real property in North Dakota pay property tax to their county, municipality, school district, and special taxing districts. 199. The Tax Foundation ranks North Dakota as the state with the 20th most business-friendly tax climate in the nation. 200. Tax Freedom Day arrives on April 1st, 10 days earlier than the National Tax Freedom Day. 200. In 2006, North Dakota was the state with the lowest number of returns filed by taxpayers with an adjusted gross income of over $1 million, only 333. 201.